Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. Today I'm going to share with you like the news for this week. Okay, so the first one is Les Mis is jumping into Metaverse with VR boxing. And this news is on the Verge.com, and the journalist is it's written by uh, Victoria Song. Okay, so overall, the news is about there's a company, a really tech savvy company called Los Mills. And Las Mills, they just about to, actually it's already launched. They launched their um, Body Compact VR in the Meta Quest store, and it's $29.99. But I would say like I saw the trailer. It's very similar to Supernatural, like the beats and the feeling. It feels really like Supernatural. But if you played Supernatural VR, you can see like it's more surrounded in a surrealistic environment. However, in Las Mills, it's more like I would say more gamified feeling. So yeah, so if you had a chance, you can try it. And inside this VR, it has a lot of like a start from easy to difficult, like different levels of boxing classes. Right now, there are 25 training sessions from multiple difficulties. So if you want to try it, feel free to try it. Pretty much, it's like you fight or you punch the beats floating approaching to you. So there are a lot of games that has this game mechanics, but I would say that this is a interesting way to learn boxing. Okay, so yeah, so yeah, any thoughts, comments, or like something you try in the VR fitness field? Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and share your thoughts. Hi, Emily.
Hi. Can you hear
Hi.
can
Yes,
you
I
hear
can
me
hear.
okay? Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
can hear
forgot I
you.
had the headset on last night, so I was trying to get it together. I played with this at one of the game shows here in San Francisco, and it was
Mm.
fun. And you actually do feel the resistance. You actually get tired doing it.
Wow.
I have lymphedema. I had breast cancer on my right hand, and
Mm.
with the computers, and so I couldn't just keep doing it. But you could get a good physical workout. And I
Mm.
think they're giving them, like they say, give your grandma VR glasses now so that they can exercise.
This is very cool. Yeah, I mean, I tried like a bunch of like a VR fitness, apps, and it,
Yeah.
it it was really inspiring. I mean, the interesting thing is that when I wear a headset and forget about I was in the VR space, I feel good. But when I take
Yeah.
it out, I start feel a little dizzy.
Dizzy. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, you
that's
have to
me.
be well hydrated, and your ears, you get this equilibrium. So I work in clinical. So
Mm,
I tell my patients, because sometimes they have to watch even videos on their phone, for training,
yeah.
and they get dizzy, then you have to chew gum. You have to keep your
Oh.
juices, because if you're dehydrated, your eyes and focus starts to change,
Oh, that's why. Like every time when
or have you
yeah,
been on a plane and you get an earache,
yeah,
the
yeah,
pressure? Yeah.
yeah.
So
I think when I do like a VR fitness, there at some point I would feel like my mind and my body
right.
was detached. Like
Yeah.
I was all about ready to fight, but for some reason my body yeah,
Yeah, it's an
and
after
yeah,
effect. It's an
yeah,
after effect.
yeah.
And it doesn't happen all the time. If you're a little bit sick, or the air quality in the room isn't good, you'll feel it
Mm,
more.
mm.
I just don't want people to pass out when they're doing it. If I'm running a clinical trial, we got VR glasses. I don't want them fainting.
Yeah, right. Because in the VR space, I feel like my mind is living in that world, but actually my physical body, I feel less about my physical body when I am
Yeah,
in the VR world. So yeah, it's very
right.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
And I would say VR fitness is such a great topic because, VR, we all know that, you are just like lazy and play games, but VR fitness can actually help you to improve your health. So this is a great combination. Yeah.
Right. But again, you have to have it acceptable, and we don't want people getting sued because they have issues, or break an arm or something because they fall.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good, and the games are getting way better. The technology,
Yeah.
I started testing Wii. Remember the old Wii units, like maybe
Oh,
10
yeah,
years
yeah,
ago?
yeah. Like a long
I
time ago.
I I use those in a cancer center to
Hmm.
get the women to stretch their arms out.
Oh,
We
that's
did like
great.
little yoga things, because when you have cancer, you're like this, like a wing. And if
Mm.
they don't exercise their arm, they'll never be able to extend it. Those muscles have to be
Oh.
worked out as they're healing from all the scars and the radiation. So
Mm.
I started testing Wii as an
Mm.
exercise thing because that's all they had. And so
Mm.
now it's gotten better. But I am looking at other VR games that you can do on your phone or on
Mm.
your PC that still have a tactile response, even
Mm.
Alexa, like the weights now,
Yeah. Mm.
because of the issues with the VR glasses. I'm hoping that with the G5 and more of a mesh network, your
Mm.
TV will have sensors, your little hubs will
Ah,
have more sensors, and you won't have to wear these big old funky glasses.
yeah, yeah. I would say that wearing those glasses really, first it's heavy, right? It even though they are trying to make it lighter, but it's still heavy.
Yeah.
And second, it's just like,
And,
sometimes when you exercise, the glass will change and the focus point will change. So I feel
right.
dizzy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the eyes, where the eyes are gazing. And then the most horrible thing happens is when they're really into it, and
Mm.
if you have remote, they're not plugged in, the battery
Yeah.
dies.
Oh,
And
and
then
yeah.
and it's like, at one point when I worked at Stanford, I had 60 pairs of Google glasses and none of them would hold a charge. The doctors would throw them across the lab. It's like,
Wow.
no.
Yeah, and sometimes when I was too immersive in the,
Mhm.
exercise and I across the, my comfort zone
Yeah,
and, I saw the reality and then I stand back, a lot of stuff need to be rendering and sometimes, I need to reset the entire thing. I
right.
just have to be inside my comfort bubble and that bubble is very small.
Now, is this game, I missed the first part, I was fumbling around. Is this game built on the Unity platform or the Unreal?
I don't really know, but yeah, I mean, if you can see, let me share with you like
Because I'm looking
on
for
the store.
plugins. I think your next talk is going to be Unreal, so I didn't know if you were
Oh,
focusing
I actually
on.
it's not Unreal, it's
I mean on
Unity. Yeah,
Unity, on
yeah,
Unity.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the future, probably we will have more Unreal class. Right now, it's just me, so it's Unity.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good. I'm trying I'm trying to take classes on both, and what
Oh, I
happens is I
see.
get confused.
Yeah, yeah. I would
They're
say, yeah.
similar, but I'll show. I think when you have David, my boss, you'll see what we're doing with
Oh,
a
yeah.
UE5, and he's like been doing VR stuff since the beginning of time. So you
Wow,
can
that's
ask him about
amazing.
that too.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great. That's
and
great.
so I get my chops from him, but I'm the health geek. I'm trying to get funding and projects restarted since COVID. A lot of stuff just kind of is hanging loose at Stanford,
Mm,
because we can't have access to patients and we can't have access to the labs like we used to come and go
oh,
anytime we want. Now you have to
yeah.
make a reservation and hope the security guard is there to let you in, take your
Wow.
temperature,
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I mean, because of COVID, I think everything needs to, we need to put in the cloud instead of, physical place. Because, yeah,
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
I
it's
find out
it's
that,
a
yeah.
different operation, and it's you think you're going to plan a whole week and do X number of things, and they say no, we're on lockdown again. Nobody's come in, and so it's like,
Yeah.
okay, call me when you're ready. I'm home, But in the meantime, I'm trying to learn these different things. I really believe that the gaming platforms
Mm,
are and also I've been working with folks at NVIDIA, because they're all here in San Francisco. The performance of the new NVIDIA chips and PCs and monitors are really hot, and making it's like you get so excited when you get a new system, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
and can I afford it? But I know people that have them, and they just can operate so much better and faster instead of waiting or having to fight with Windows and do all this stuff.
Yeah. I would say that, every time when I see there's something new in VR or XR or Metaverse, or I don't know, right now NFT is included in my radar right now. Before it was outside of my radar, but now I find out that, you see, everything is merged together, right? 5G, blockchain, or cryptocurrency, right? Everything is like coming
Right.
along.
And you're in Southern Cal, where it's coming at you in all different directions. That's why, I get some and you get some, and we'll put our heads together. Who's our buddy here? Dan, you want to chime in?
Yeah,
And
Dan,
tell
do
us
you
about
wanna?
yourself?
Yeah, it's all two girls, and we need guys' opinion.
We need your take.
My take.
Hey.
Welcome.
Welcome. Hi.
Hi.
I'm a little new to the metaverse stuff, I guess. I've been drawing award shows in 3D.
Wow.
So I've been coming from the architectural CAD side and Revit and all of that, and thinking, no, we need to actually blend that into the gaming engines. So I've worked in television. I've worked in theme parks, programming rides, and designing theme parks.
Wow.
So
that's exciting. I mean, built for speed. I'd love to be one of your testers.
I mean, Emily is the coolest
Test those roller
grandma.
coasters and those little vehicles. I'm a speed junkie. My first husband was a German automotive engineer, so we had 5 cars that we could race around tracks. I miss that.
Yeah, Emily is the coolest grandma ever.
Well, I'm a product of Silicon Valley, and actually I built dune buggies. My grandmother lived in Baja in Mexico, and I used to build dune buggies in Phoenix, Arizona, and take them to Baja and sell them there at the beach and pay for my college. So I grew up with cars. But Dan, both platforms for Unity and for Epic Unreal have architectural
so
tutorials.
what I've been working with is I'm a user of Vectorworks for the last since 1997 or so.
Okay.
So that's been all of my data infused 3D meant for that. But I've been able to render, do my CAD, and do walkthrough drawings, and they've had cloud sharing kind of things of that nature. So now I'm working with Twinmotion, which has brought me into to Epic,
right,
and doing amazing stuff with that. And what I've been really, my last position was product manager for RE lighting and for SkyPanel. So I've been into the XR stages and the rest of the virtual production. So what I've been really working on is bidirectional lighting communication between the gaming engine and rock and roll lighting consoles and architectural lighting controllers.
That's
so that
great.
I can
Very cool.
work, basically do events within the game, going
maybe
to
you can give us a
theme
talk.
park and stuff.
Yeah. Can I
invite? A talk on lighting?
Can I invite you, like, be one of our speaker? Because we have like a speaker event online every Saturday. So I can send you. Yeah.
I'm really very, very new to the gaming engine stuff, guys. So I'm getting all of my FBX updates and imports, and I'm connecting all my dots and all that other stuff, but I'm basically alone in my apartment until I start working with some other people.
Right. Well, lighting is a whole science to itself, and I also, again, being the chip geek that I am, my first job was with Intel back in the 70s, when it was a startup. So I've always kept my feelers out on the chip side. But Ambient Lighting, who's here in Santa Cruz, close to where I live, is working on things where you use the fluorescent light or other lights as a wireless operation. So in the operating room, for example, you could have over 100 devices that are monitoring, filtering air, all these sensors, alarms, blood pressure machines, all this. And like I said, you have to have 10 million, it's like spaghetti factory, all the wiring, and then the batteries and all this. So the ambient lighting has like little solar things, and they charge the
Wow.
units and keep them consistent. And then if you have a power failure, they have a backup way of keeping it going. So you could have like a mobile lab, an RV, say, that is like a mini hospital, if we had a big earthquake or some other disaster type thing. So it's really cool stuff. And they know lighting. I mean, it's like, wow, I didn't know lighting was such a science.
Can be.
And then for the imaging, all these new VR stuff for brain surgeries and modeling, different tumors and all of this, they also consider lighting as a big thing. You have to kind of know your stuff before you can integrate that into those apps. So
Well,
I didn't realize how important lighting was.
Well, my last company was with RE, which is a German company, which also has an entire medical division with its cameras and its division overseas. Yes.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. But I'd have to be 200 years old to learn all that stuff and then figure out how to use it. So I have to go to gurus like you and Dominic to learn this stuff, and just enough to be dangerous.
That's super cool. That's super cool. Yeah, cool. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so next news is Mozilla is retrieving its VR version of Firefox. And then they are, kind of, I would say, outsourcing other team to build another new platform called, where is that? It's like the new company is called Igalia. And then they have another set of platform called Warwick.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that we know that Firefox or Mozilla or they kind of got purchased by Microsoft. Yeah, and then and they start their like the journey, and we all know that Mozilla is really good at WebXR, right? And with its hub, but actually right now they are removing their app from MetaQuest, and then they will launch the new browser called Warwick. I mean, I don't know, like, you change all the names and it's a little confusing. It's so hard to remember.
It keeps the trademark lawyers busy. They make money off of that stuff.
Yeah, right.
I'm wondering, because Microsoft also bought Activision, for $1 bazillion.
Yeah.
If this is kind of a move to make those things play together, you know what I mean? Because Activision to me is like, yeah, it's been around, but it doesn't compare. They're floundering compared to Unity and Epic. So I'm wondering if this is like Microsoft stuff where it's trying to merge and get everybody to play in their garden. And I know Microsoft and Mozilla, because I used to sell, turnkey web. I always sold Mozilla as the browser with the turnkey apps back in the 90s. They're like the enterprise go-to at that time, and they've kind of nurtured a lot of legacy, old even people that have old NXT systems and all that. They run Mozilla, because it works. You don't have all this fluff stuff from Microsoft Explorer. So I'm wondering if that's kind of the move. If I were queen of Microsoft, I'd say, okay, guys, you guys get in a room and make this play so we can compete with the other big gameplays.
Yeah, you see, like Microsoft become the third largest game platform, right? Because they buy Activision and Blizzard, right? And so you see, like, it's getting larger and larger, and a lot of, like, I think I forgot the name, but Halo, or not really Halo, but Call of Duty or some other games, they become, part of the free Xbox Pass, right? They have like a subscription model, right? So you see like HoloLens, right? It's the gargle. And then
Right.
you see the Xbox, it's the platform, right? And now they've already got the browser, right? And you see like all those stuff they are combining together. You see game, right? Device and like platforms. So yeah, so I would say yeah, and yeah, it's very interesting that they changed the name. That is so hard to remember. I have to take a look. I practice a lot before this meeting, but I still forget. You see, like
I can see people calling it Iggy and Woozy.
yeah,
They're going to give it some TikTok name. It's not
yeah,
going to
it's like
stay.
yeah, it's like a
Stay.
Volvic. Who
Yeah,
will remember this name?
It
I feel
sounds
like
it sounds too German, and German trademarks they
I
don't
feel like
carry in other, like Japan and Asia. They're too hard to say.
yeah. I feel like Firefox, even though Firefox is still at the beginning, if you first time learn it, you will forget. But since this mark is like it's a fox on fire, so I still remember Firefox. But
Right.
this
And that
Volvic or
started, like I
something,
said, back in like 1992,
yeah,
people, it was like one of the first icons and first branding.
yeah.
So it's like by default, but the new names, Volvic and Igalia or whatever,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think it's going to stick myself. People are going to know what it is, but they're going to call it Iggy or something like that.
Yeah, and it's like a Firefox. I feel like
Get your Iggy browser.
Yeah, very bizarre. And yeah, I rather they kind of relaunch their Firefox, right, instead of trying to change the name. And this name is like yeah, we need to deal with name and like in the future. But yeah, it's just like they kind of change their name of platform and kind of remove Firefox.
I wonder what their logo is going to look like. It's going to look like the VW. The Germans have hand signals for VW.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a Las Vegas or something very weird. Like
Right.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's their strategy, and probably they have something coming up. So yeah,
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah, everything just keep changing. Okay, so yeah, so this is the Mozilla news. Another news is that it's on TV Tech. Comcast, NBC Universal, they will provide 150 hours of live 8K resolution VR coverage of the 2022 Winter Olympics by NBC Olympic VR, by Xfinity app. Oh, Xfinity. Okay, Xfinity app. Yeah, so this is a very interesting. You see, like right now, not only people are trying to look up the Olympics or some sports game on the 2D flat screen, but now you see everything is going to VR, and it's 8K minimum, because imagine like so many dots, like HD is not enough to cover the entire 360 area, and 4K is the minimum, right? And then 8K is kind of like, okay, it should be fine. It's not.
Yeah, they're going to make it 3D, like the snow's hitting you in the face.
Yeah, like
sure the snowboarder throws some snow.
Yeah, so you see, like resolution is start from 8K. So I feel like wow, like 5G probably can cover it, and I feel like that. Yeah, and it's live, right? It's live coverage. So yeah, of live, right? So 150 hours. So I think this probably in the future will become a norm, right? So in the future, you probably don't need to sit on the sofa, watch TV, right? You will wear the headset, right? And you will surround it by 360 immersive videos.
Right. That's the mesh network that I was talking about. Yeah. They announced things at CES in January, but it hasn't gotten out. Even if you try and order them, the VR glasses out, they're back ordered. There's a supply chain issue and distribution. They could be sitting in Long Beach, haven't been unloaded yet.
Yeah. Then I think you are probably like more familiar with the media stuff. Do you want to share your thoughts?
Well, I'm still a person that wants to sit in my chair, and I did in fact work on the Olympics in Salt Lake.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Amazing.
sitting on top of my television. So I'm still one of those guys who would like to sit and watch the Olympics normally. No,
Yeah,
I was the assistant lighting designer for the Olympics in Salt Lake and in Athens.
Wow.
And I produced
wow.
the lighting blueprints for the ceremonies.
Wow. Yeah. So what do you see about like if people want to shoot like a VR experience and live and streaming on the app, what do you see
Well,
like the
you were
audience?
talking about concerts because that to me is like, it used to be you'd go to a concert like here in San Francisco,
Mm,
and the day they announced that it would be sold out, and
Mhm.
you were SOL. So now
yeah.
it's like they're virtual. You can go in person and
Yeah,
pay money,
I mean,
but
all
virtual
this
you can get
reminds
in.
me of, yeah, it reminds me of the year 2000. We were doing a lot of these like fiber links of, rehearsals.com,
Mhm,
where you had your, band members who were practicing and, rehearsing an album, and a lot of like the get back of what you're seeing with the Beatles. People were
mhm,
saying, oh, well, we've got all these rehearsal studios that we could actually get a fiber feed in. And, if someone's playing at the House of Blues in LA, we could put up a screen and, virtually beam that guy into New Orleans
mhm.
at the same time. And we set it all up and we did it. And not a single person was interested in it. So,
That's
I
because the
mean,
bandwidth was so bad.
well, I don't know if the bandwidth is bad, but I mean, the fiber was there, the cameras were there, the high def of it enough was there to make it believable. But I still believe very much. I'm a very theater person, so I always see that virtual reality is trying to pretend to be theater. We've had theater all of this time. Um,
Right.
Welcome to our world is my opinion.
Well,
um,
you're talking to a flower child here, and I'm in, Santa Cruz now. So, we have people just get together in parks and start jamming, and you don't know, some famous guy or gal could come in, and Joan Baez is having a picnic. Let's go check her out, So,
Well, I miss live music like nobody's business. I
yeah.
really wish that that was the case. And and concerts have been so problematic for crowd control and such. So I think
Hmm.
a lot of what the virtual reality things that I've been talking with the people down here of it's the permissions issue. If we're going to have something that is enclosed into an arena space or a theme park space where people are signing away some sort of rights to go in and work with something that has been designed for this space versus the outdoors and the streets
Yeah.
and the businesses that people walk in and out of every day.
Mm,
Yeah.
I've been thinking more along those lines because of the lighting designer from a theme park perspective
Hmm.
of, well, you could really design very interesting particular environments meant for arenas, meant for stadiums and such of that nature. um, if we could start to understand three dimensions and locations. So like what I've been mostly interested in is pixel mapping and organizing LED across spaces for live shows, concerts, and stadium events and things of that nature. So what I'm very interested in is the video game aspect because there's been a lot of 3D that's been in the lighting and production world, but it's been a dead end. It's been the 3D environment that the lighting guys make for them, because they've got a concert and they want to see what it looks like. They want to program. But now we can hand it off and start putting it into other environments, into Fortnite, into, all these other things. So I think that's completely fascinating. And it's what Hollywood needs to be doing. So I'm getting my hands dirty in all those aspects that I can find it.
Yeah, I paid, I guess it was around Christmas time. I asked my grandson what he wanted, and I charged it on my Visa, and he explained to me it was a virtual concert. And he sent me some screenshots, some things he took on the phone where it was like 5,000 people, all simultaneous connectivity. That's what got me interested in this stuff. And I said, oh yeah, I got to learn about this before I go to CES. I guess, you know, they have these virtual concerts where the performer is like 50 feet tall, and they have these virtual little avatars that are the audience, and people are chatting and, you know, pinging each other and all of this. And the graphics and all of the lighting effects, all that were cool. You know, I didn't get to see it. I just saw screenshots, and he told me about it. And I go, wow, I didn't even know that stuff existed. And
well,
then
what's great is that it's there. The industry has now adopted standards so that the 3D objects of the actual lights are the 3D objects in the gaming environment, and they're taking the exact same signals. So you could actually like fork a signal from the lighting console and send it to real lights and send it to the virtual lights at the same time. So now I've been trying to like take triggers from the other side. So if there's something inside the game that comes back, then we can do something in reality from the game, or vice versa.
Right.
Have you ever heard of a stuff called something like from Marvel, right? Mission something, Marvel Studio. They have a theme park, Marvel Mission. Let me see.
Well, the new Disney park, I was able
something.
to design a Marvel park in Dubai for Avengers Age of Ultron ride, a Spider-Man ride, a Hulk ride. And then I also did a Avengers kind of an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. experience that was for Discovery Centers and was touring. And I think it's in Vegas now.
So you have a cape now. You're a superhero. Your power is lighting.
Hey. No, I did actually the Age of Ultron ride in Dubai was actually quite fun. You had to put on the 3D glasses. You're going through a ride, and like they would throw a fireball across the room, and I would put LED into the laps of the people on the ride and on the ground, so that when you're watching the movie, the light was coming out of the screen and was hitting the ground and such. So, you know, when Thor would teleport down, he would come in with his Bifrost blue, and I would put that into the laps of the people of the car, so that when they're watching the movie, there's interaction of, you know, that. And just thinking that in and getting in the time code for all that was fascinating and a lot of fun to do. Little touches.
Yeah, Marvel Mission. When I was in AWE event last year, it seems like it's a AR VR puzzle game combined with, you know, escape room. So for example, you will be inside the Spider-Man's room, like teenager Spider-Man's room. And, you know, you are locked in the physical place and you are in the actual room. So you see the bed, you see the desk, right? And you need to use AR, VR to figure out what's the clue, right? With your team, and you need to get out of the room. And then they have like a, you know, it's like a theme park, but combined with AR and VR. And so when you enter, you can, you know, go to different rooms and, you know, do the escape room game. And then once you finish, there's a physical store, so you can purchase physical stuff. So I personally think this is kind of like a, I don't know, for me, it's like a future theme park, right? It's not, you go there and you are passively receiving all the entertainment, but you are, it's like a video game, but combined with the AR, VR, and it's not actual totally inside VR, but you are actually physically visit that theme park. So I find out it's very intriguing that, you know, it's not because Lavoie, the difference between it and Lavoie is that they actual set up the room. And Lavoie is that you wear like a super cool VR headset and they throw you into a, you know, into a room and you didn't even know what the room looks like. But this one is kind of like, you know, the combination between AR, VR, theme park. And yeah, I kind of think it's a hybrid combination and it's very cool. And I don't know, for me, I feel like it's really immersive, even though I need to go to that physical place, but I feel pretty cool because, you know, like all the creativity and all the, you know, use the technology to create another layers of the theme park. Yeah.
Yeah, Dominic, if I, again, the geek in me, Disney has a research center and they actually fund engineers to go and then they create patents. So we had a little virtual congratulation party to a friend of mine that worked on this latest Disney patent. And it's public record. I can send you the link where they now have patents for this kind of room operation for virtual reality without the VR glasses. And I'm sure there's some lighting stuff in there. It's a long patent, but you could read like the first page. I sent you a short clip of the summary. And it would be cool if you could get somebody from Disney to come and talk about their
right.
kind of
I mean,
future site. You know, I can ask
Yeah.
this guy, but he's like probably Dan. He travels around the world and he's got kids and family and
Yeah,
you know, but he's a super guy, and so he's been working on this patent for like 4 or 5 years, and we miss
wow.
our pizza and beer parties, you know, so we just had a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, after COVID, my entire life, the only time that I can social is right now, and I'm socialing, even though I am like in a meeting, and it feels like a job interview right now. But I mean, I
No,
feel like I'm.
this is your virtual coffee shop, you know, because it's
Yeah,
early in the morning.
coffee.
I'm having
Everyone
coffee,
has.
eating my fruit.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that I miss you. You know, every time when I see, you know, the actual store, actual people hanging out with like a real avatar, right? Our flash real avatar. I'm really envy of the old time, right? You see, like people sit together, even wear masks, but it feels good, right?
Yeah, I'm Latina. I'm a hugger. And I miss
Yeah.
not being able to hug people.
You only
even when
can.
I worked at Intel, I used to hug my distributors.
Yeah,
and people
fist.
would say, "Why do you do that?" I says, "Because they love me."
Yeah.
and they'll give me orders.
Yeah, right now I think your fist bone is
Right.
the
Or you're
biggest.
in a
Yeah.
mask, you can't see if they're smiling or
Yeah,
making fun of you.
it's so hard to
Sticking their tongues
social.
out.
Even though if you are in a big event such as last year I went to AWE, I feel like since everyone covered the entire face, I don't know who is who, and
Right.
people just play their phone, right, or laptop, and nobody is really talking unless it's their team, right? So
Right.
it's
No, I had to train
impossible.
myself to put my hands in my pocket so I'd stop hugging people, you know. And
Yeah,
it's like I
yeah.
gotta walk around my hands in my pocket, you know.
And sometimes I will like, is that person? But because of the, you know, like the you only show like a, you know, like
Eyes.
the eyes, right? It's like a Muslim, right?
Yeah.
So I it's hardly to know who is who. Yeah.
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 Well, I think we're social animals, and you can't just have tech. You can't just live isolated. You have to have the social contact, you know,
Mm,
and with nature, you have to experience nature too.
yeah.
Dan, I wanted to ask you, if you were king of the universe, because you have all this technical expertise, what obstacles would you want to alleviate to make this stuff, you know, more interoperable or more affordable or more reliable, you know, with little pearls of wisdom?
I'm not sure yet. You know, I what I love about this is that, like, it's reminding me of what got me into computers in the first place. Like, I did a lot of drawings that were 3D models, but they were dead. They weren't alive, you know. And if you think in terms of like architecture or making a 3D model of a building, that for a long time those were just really dead, and to see actual like walking people walking through your designs are actually quite fascinating. And for me, I think of it in terms of when I first started coding, like when I was young, I had an Atari 800, and
Right.
my dad gave me the Byte magazine and told me to
Hmm.
type in those games in the back of the magazine.
Right.
And really, like, after I did that, I was like, well, do I want to be more of a coder, or do I want to go into theater? And it's interesting that I went into theater and I started making models of shows using architectural software to make architectural versions of shows within those buildings. And so now it's like, well, okay, I've been working in an architectural form all of this time, but now we're all not doing that anymore. We're all video game makers. And the theater designers and the scenic designers are actually level makers for video games.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh wow, there's a whole market there where we've been kicking the theater majors, but they're actually the people who are going to be building all the levels like everybody else for the video games all this time. And so suddenly I kind of see there's an entire market that's now opened up for a very old market to merge into, and suddenly my models are the same as their models, and assets are assets. And that I think is quite fascinating. What I'm not fascinated by is the lack of production and the overturning of load-ins and load-outs and hanging lights and all the rest of it. The virtual reality XR stages are taking a hammer to productions and to production people.
Hmm.
So I kind of want to see all of us who've been working all this time continue to work.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think
that's my 2 cents.
Well,
yeah,
I really feel that there's going to be a parallel universe. Like I said, I don't want real theater to die, but by the same token, I don't want to miss out. Or let's say I'm disabled and in a wheelchair, that I can't go to a rock concert, or a jazz concert.
Yeah.
I want it immortalized so that I can watch it conveniently. Maybe it's a pay-per-view type of thing. I can put my little avatar and pretend, that Emily, the cool hippie gal, is still there,
Yeah.
whether it's
I don't
through
know.
VR glasses or interactive TV,
Yeah. I I don't know. I've been looking, I watch, the Boba Fett's and all the XR stages, and, very, very closely on how it looks and how they're kind of going at it. And I kind of think that everyone's kind of fascinated by the algorithm at the moment, but they're not actually painting their pictures anymore.
Right.
And so I think that's the thing that I kind of think that there's maybe a little bit of backlash to a lot of this VR stuff, and we just need some more just straight up art like we used to have.
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't want it to be where it's so homogenized that they're just like this. You're seeing the same old,
Well, and that's what I think I'm seeing. I think I see, a character standing on a stage, and then he's got some rocks behind him, and then there's a video wall behind him.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
basically all the shots are basically set up that way because that's how the technology, looks good.
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
starting to look like, foreground, midground, LED wall,
Mhm.
a lot.
Right.
Yeah. Have you ever been to VR Burning Man?
Oh,
Dan?
sure. Well, I've
Yeah.
been to Burning Man, and I know Athena very well. That's how I connected with this. And
Oh, Athena. Yeah. Because
Athena and I was the lighting designer for Circuser
oh,
with Athena.
yeah. Because you were talking about the events or lighting, and I was thinking about because she was one of our speakers, and like in her event, I find out that it's amazing that like she used the Burning Man guideline to apply to the Metaverse
Yeah.
guideline, and
Yeah, the community stuff, that's really important. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
and I'm reading more and more about that, about the kind of barrier and the kind of harassment that people could have in these environments, and how
Yeah.
quickly that could take place. That's
Mhm.
it's very
Mm.
important. Very important.
Yeah, I would say that because just like Athena said that every avatar, virtual avatar, there's a real soul living there. So whatever we do, respect people or the role in real world, we should also, bring or, respect as well as, every virtual avatar, right? Because there's a soul living in that avatar. Yeah.
No, I read that was a disturbing article yesterday about Facebook, and a woman that was on there within minutes was harassed. Yeah.
And I feel like, actually, like a few weeks ago, we have a Zoom trolling, and
remember that? That was horrible.
Yeah,
we had to end the session and kick everybody out and come back in.
Yeah, and I accidentally kicked somebody else out, so I apologize, but it feels like, in physical world, if someone do something, you see it, right, and you ask the person out, it's easy. But for the virtual, right, if someone, and I Google it, it's so easy to troll in Zoom, because there's like a Zoom, like a V2 or something app up down there, and there were a lot of like teenagers teaching people online how to troll into like some boring lecturing, some school, teachers math class, right? And then once they got the URL, they can jump in and do whatever and start calling out people or something and mess up the class. And it's you see, like, is there any rule or regulation, or can we sue that person? And it's so hard to catch the virtual, appear and disappear and anonymous, right? Once you get your URL, they can do whatever. And you see, like, even Zoom, I report that suspicious people to Zoom, but next time maybe he or she use the different,
they just create a new ID.
Yeah.
I work with two groups here, the Open Voice Network, where we're trying to even just correlate who's doing what in voice, actual human voice interactions, chat box, IVRs, metahumans, like what I'm trying to do, all that stuff, to create best practices and guidelines, and then run those to expand, the EDPU. I personally was involved way back when California started doing the Consumer Protection Act, because I worked in healthcare and we had regulations that were very hard to implement. And then I wanted to do remote patient monitoring, which didn't really exist. I had to get permission. And now we have telehealth, so they had to change the laws just so we could do telehealth. So my goal is to write these guidelines and go to Sacramento, because they're dying. They're asking, what are the best practices? What are the laws that need to be changed? They can't keep up with this stuff. You look at the laws right now, and all they talk about is call centers, and phone spam. Well, that's like a little drop in the virtual voice thing. And then we talk about synthetic voices, people stealing your voice, and they used it on, like, the gal that, they stole her voice and used it on TikTok. She never got paid. She had to sue. Disney had issues with, doing things with their stars or their contract voice players, things like that. So that everybody, they're stakeholders. And then from a user perspective, Alexa listening, Google selling your data, selling your voice print, all that stuff, there's no laws to protect you. So again, that's why I'm in this space. I'm not a gamer, but I'm learning the infrastructures and, kind of trying to put the guardrails. You'll see when you talk to David about our human meta things, because people will fall in love, like they've done in China and Japan. They'll fall in love with their avatars. They'll tell you anything and everything.
They get married, like I saw like a Japanese guy, like a married.
So how do you have those guardrails? I'm the Jiminy Cricket said, let the conscience be your guide. If you want to have scammers come in and, fake, just do evil things, or even give you a heart attack, from the obscenities or the fear, because they're like trolling you constantly with every device. What are we going to do about this? So it's a arduous process, but we have to start with best practices and industry, what works where. We don't want Facebook to own it all, where we have to, live by their laws and their prices and their monopolies. We have to have open platforms and different communities. I think people, especially the younger generation, they're not afraid to speak up. You know, I would kind of go to some of these Apple shows or Amazon shows and just bite my tongue, say, you assholes, you realize what you're doing. You know, you say you're going to have games for kids and there's no consent, you know. You know, so instead of just hitting them over the head with fines and warning letters, I want to have best practices and have aggress community spokespeople, even like what Dan was saying, you know, to protect the rights of the theater and the lighting staff and all of the work that goes into that, you know, that they just can't say, no, we don't have that anymore. We're just going to do CGI, you know, and you have no value. No, that's wrong.
Well, I think what I'm seeing is that they've got these stages and they've got basically the HDRI dome of the sky that has been mapped to the lights that are over the top. They've got the CGI background that's in the LED wall. And when the crew shows up, they're like, okay, well, you're on stage A, go. You know, there's go do your thing. It's done, you know.
Right,
and,
right.
And so there's, I think a lot of people must be kind of feeling their hands are quite tied going in there, going, okay, well, how does this work? And okay, well, I guess that's okay. And when people are saying, well, you know, that's accurate because the algorithm is telling you that the light, it looks like that. And it's like, well, but we're still painting a picture.
Right, right.
You know,
but it is a business, it is an industry. And let's say that you own a character and you're cloned, or you are a famous person, or you are even your own creative thoughts are stolen. And I think that's why they're trying to do all this NFT stuff. But even the NFTs, you need to have regulations. You need to have those guidelines. And other countries are way ahead of us in the technology. And in a lot of cases, even they don't have, you know, pertinent laws. Japan does a lot of stuff for seniors, but their healthcare is tied to their government. So the government sets the bar, you know. I've been in and reviewed clinical studies where you can't go in to see a COVID doctor. If you have COVID, you have to interact with an avatar to do the symptoms, to see if you have an emergency, you know, because these countries were just slammed so much. They have more seniors than they do healthcare workers. So you have to be screened by an avatar, an interactive conversation before you get an appointment to go into the hospital, you know, or they come and get you and take you to the hospital.
well, I spent 9 months in Dubai during COVID, and to see the changes and differences between governments and hospitals and just attitudes and everything else is amazingly dramatic.
Right.
Between the two.
So I'm looking at that model. Here we are, you know, doing a metaverse reboot, because this metaverse stuff, you know, we were, like you said, we were hacking around with this stuff back in the 90s, you know. After we got off of modem couplers, you know, we started getting fiber T1 and T3 lines, that we hadn't figured it out. And the US is got, you know, and I call it the financial and the political layer that you have to get through. So I look at the best practices in the UK, Germany, Australia, these other countries, and try and formulate these docs, you know, documentations that we're trying to do at Open Voice Network. So you can check us out, openvoicenetwork.org. You can see some of the forums. And if I'm Emily Troutner, CCRA on LinkedIn. If you want particular info, I can direct you, because I think it's people like you or the younger generation, which are voice and digital first, that are going to need these laws and have to live by them, you know.
Yeah, that's
and actually make money off of them. I was lucky. I worked at Intel. I made money there. I'm still living off the stock. You know, I have a lot of contacts. All my old managers are venture capitalists or successful businesses. But young kids today, there's so much competition, and they're just hired as contractors. They don't have a longevity, you know, they're gig workers, and they don't get money to pay their pensions. They have to have 3 jobs just to try and buy a house. It's crazy.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, actually, we hit our time mark for today's event. I love the today's discussion. It's just like we will have another meeting like 4 minutes later. So yeah, so I love the discussion, and let's hold, and maybe we can discuss next week. Sounds good?
Okay,
Yeah,
Very good.
cool, cool.
We'll see you on the Unity thing. We have to switch things. I'm gonna try and do 2 computers so you can talk and then I can try and do stuff on the other side.
Cool, cool, awesome. Yeah, then.
Thank you, folks.
Yeah, thank
Pleasure
you.
meeting you, Dan. Thank you for sharing all of
nice
your
meeting you.
experience and keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you very much. Good to meet you both.
Yeah,
Bye.
cool. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.